Hi everyone, John Cotter, Media Mayhem here, and yeah, it's time to talk about Steve Lacy. I've made a couple TikToks talking about this. In fact, I started, talking about this when his tour was selling out and so many people were asking, why is this tour sold out? Why are the resale tickets so expensive? And basically the answer to that is, has he been on tour before? Yes, but he hasn't been on a tour like this at this scale when he's this popular. And that's the differentiating factor here. So, for example, in Chicago, he chose the Vic Theater, very small theater. He could realistically play an Aragon Ballroom, which is, I want to say, about 2 to 3 times the size of that. But, it seems like he's going for more of an intimate vibe with this crowd. At least that's what he wants to do. And, that's kind of what happened. And, the flip side of that is the fans in the auditorium are pretty much the fans that get the tickets first. And pretty much right when this tour got announced, Bad Habits just exploded. Number one is still incredibly popular on TikTok in that amasses a certain audience. And that's one of the factors that goes into basically Steve Lacy's tour thus far being the biggest piece of news from it being that him and his fans don't exactly get along. And by fans, I mean the people that pay to go to his shows. So essentially what's happened is there's been clips online from numerous shows of him wanting fans to finish verses, like in this video here, as he's basically holding the mic up and nobody's singing the verse. And he, laughs it off, makes a joke. That's fine. That's like a somewhat of a commonplace, especially in the industry, especially when you're starting off in a more mainstream space. Not saying Steve Lacy is just starting. He's been at this for years and years, and you can really see that not only in his performances, but in just how idiosyncratic his music is and how it's tuned to him and himself, and it really couldn't be made the same by someone else. Granted, he does have contemporaries, but so yeah, audience didn't know the lyrics in one, and then there's other videos where he's throwing phones on the ground and basically being rightfully upset at people who are throwing stuff on stage. And this is where I think I look at this situation, I say, Steve Lacy, I agree with you 110%. And let me just start off by giving some caveats to this. This was a disposable camera, this wasn't a professional camera. If someone destroyed my camera, I'd be like, all right, you owe me $3,000. But this is a $20 disposable. So you can see, it's kind of hard to see with certain POVs. This is the perfect one. Look at this. Are you kidding me? That's just so sad to see because, and actually Mitski has a great quote about this, basically saying, she gets upset at certain shows when, fans treat her like property for a certain amount of time because you paid the ticket, so you own this. You get to, they are your prop for the night. And that's just, I think a trend that we've been seeing a lot more frequently during, social media and all this stuff where fans feel very entitled to this being a performance for them and not them and everyone else around them. And I think just the way that this person throws the camera is so okay, midair, boom. Are you kidding me? And I was talking about similar stuff like this when the Yeet concerts were first starting out, and how it was a couple things. It's the post-pandemic rage. People are just, getting out of their houses and going to concerts, and they're maybe a little bit more anxious, energized than usual, and that's shown through with the Yeet shows. Fans wasting all their energy in the first 60 minutes before Yeets come out. And in this case, I think we're seeing this is more of the post-pandemic crowd, meaning people that haven't really been to shows before. We're seeing a whole new demographic go to live shows because, well, there was about a 3-year gap in between live performances in the industry anywhere. And, I think this is the product of that. Stuff like this, of saying, this is my moment too, from the fans' perspective, and Steve Lacy rightfully saying, stop throwing stuff on stage. And, the best part about this is, you keep watching, he's like, stop the music. He's like, yo, stop throwing stuff on stage. Stop. And he keeps going. And then there's a certain point here. Yeah, give me the disposable camera. Clearly a disposable camera. Yeah. Boom. I love it. I think that's hilarious. And what's even more hilarious is this dude right here. I'm assuming security's like, oh yeah, here, I'll help you hand that to him. He turns around. So I thought that was hilarious. And I agree with him because, you know, it wasn't like he was just like, oh, I hate the cameras, and he asked for someone's camera unknowingly. Like a certain part of them should have had some nuance to say, this man's not exactly happy with me right now because I threw my freaking camera at him. But then you get a clip like this that's just like so hilarious to me, and you know, makes me almost a bigger fan of him in a way of like, he doesn't care that he's at this huge pivotal point in his performative career of, you know, proving that he is in the upper echelon of people in his genre performing. I think he already knows that, and part of him doesn't exactly care about that because he has to put up with so much of this crap. So on that side, and pretty much with all of this, I kind of agree with him wholeheartedly on just his stance. And he actually further explains that stance in an Instagram post where he says, and this is from, you know, Popcrave on Twitter, he says, my show's been fun as hell. Shout out to people not throwing disposable cameras at me and just coming to catch a vibe and connect. I think that last part there is pivotal because that's really what he wants from these performances. And basically saying, like, I hate that the beauty and the connection that we can have from this live setting is ruined by essentially clout chasers, people looking to get a viral moment out of him. And he goes on to, he's like, I don't believe I owe anybody an apology. I mean, yes, he is so conveniently avoiding the fact that he threw someone's disposable camera at the ground. If he doesn't want to apologize for that, that's all him, you know, that's fine. But saying I'm a student of life is basically saying he understood that maybe he shouldn't have reacted that aggressively with it, but you can't blame him for this because, you know, as an artist, you're expected to go out there and perform for these people who are becoming increasingly more, I think, agreeable to the idea that, you know, they are owning a part of this performance, like this is for them, and feeling like it's property. And, you know, obviously the industry from a symbolic standpoint is kind of similar to this. Record labels sign artists that appear profitable to them. It's not about who they are, it's about what they make and the audience they garner. And Steve Lacy is top of the top now in that regard. And I think that, you know, he's facing more troubles than most, I think, because of the certain specific position he's in. And there's clips out there of him performing in previous tours in 2019, and he just seems so much more full of life and excited. And, you know, I think a big part of that is because it didn't have this viral sort of sense to it, where people were there being like, oh my God, this is like an exclusive event. It's like the supreme of concerts right now is like being at a Steve Lacy show, essentially. So yeah, I think it's kind of hilarious the way that he handled it, and just basically saying like, and he gave the blogs, Steve Lacy isn't sorry for smashing that camera. Like, that's a great headline, and I think Steve Lacy would somewhat agree with it. It's not even inaccurate. But, you know, he was too hoping that Steve Lacy's career can pan out more in ways that fit with him. And what I mean by that is that he clearly doesn't want to get pulled into this pop star sort of enigma of his career. I think he really wants to just make the music he wants to make. I mean, Gemini writes really short, concise project. If he wanted to like blow up, that album probably would have been 14 songs long, and thinking like, okay, where can we fit the songs that will hit? And really, you know, looking at Steve Lacy from a production standpoint too, and all the projects he's touched with other artists, you know, specifically Kendrick, that very simple, bare bones style works very well for him. And with this album, he really, really accentuated the ideas he wanted and built upon it, where nothing feels pretentious in a way, but it feels incredibly direct and intentional. And so here's to hoping that Steve Lacy can keep moving on without these sort of troubles he's been running into that I think are partly unavoidable and partly the product of his success. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Steve Lacy here. But let me know what you guys think about this, honestly. Should he have broken the camera? I thought it was funny. Like I said, it was a disposable camera, so don't look into it too heavy. But yeah, let me know what you think, and thank you for watching.